How do you see the ongoing tension between Pakistan and India? How do you see that, sir?
Well, the tension is not new, Archana. If you look back at the developments of the last decade, I think the last straw was the Pathankot attack, which is now going back to January of 2016, 9 years ago, when the Prime Minister very graciously invited the Pakistanis to participate into the investigation into the attack. And they sent their intelligence people to an Indian airbase, which had never happened before, and they went back and said, oh, the Indians did it to themselves. That, I think, was the last straw. That's when the Prime Minister felt and the government of India concluded that you could never really trust the Pakistani military establishment and that entire apparatus there. Ever since then, things have been very tense. We've had no real normal relationship. There have been severe restrictions on all levels of contact, from trade to visas to other kinds of engagement. And then following recent developments, that is the Pulwama Balakot episode, and then, as you know, the integration of Jammu and Kashmir with the removal of Article 370, when the Pakistanis pulled out the High Commissioner and we pulled ours out as well, there haven't even been normal diplomatic relations either. So if you look back at where things stood even before Pahalgam, it was not a very warm relationship. After Pahalgam, it's taken a further dive because, as you know, we've suspended the Indus Waters Treaty. We have reduced the number of personnel in the embassy here, in the High Commission. We have removed the air attaché, the defense attaché, and so on, and told them to leave. We've done the same, pulled out our people from Islamabad. So it is now a very, very tense relationship, even without a shooting war going on. Now, for 3-4 days, we were actually shooting at each other. It was a very serious matter. That seems to have been brought to a halt right now, and I hope it stays that way. But even then, peace in this case is just the absence of war. It is not peace in the sense of anything like warm or normal relations. The relations remain very tense.
Shashi sir, if we talk about how the way ceasefire was announced, and it was announced by the third party, Washington DC. So how do you see, US, announcing it was between India and Pakistan, the tension was going between the two countries, then US comes up and announced the ceasefire. How do you see that?
I see it as a particular politician wanting to take credit for something. And I can see that the government of India probably said, let them take the credit if they want to. But from our point of view, we have made it clear that the peace followed a request from the Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan, who called his Indian counterpart at 3:35 p.m. in the afternoon. And we didn't take very long to say yes, because we had never wanted a long war. We had made it very clear on the 7th of May that what we had done was to strike terrorist targets in reprisal for Pahalgam, and the last thing we wanted was to see that as the beginning of a long, protracted conflict. So we had said at every stage, we have done our thing, we have sent a message. Now, if you react, we will react. If you hit us, we'll hit you back. But the moment you stop, we'll also stop. So indeed, when the Pakistanis said they're ready to stop, we said, fine, we'll stop. And that's exactly what happened. As you know, on that first day, there were ceasefire violations, sadly. And those violations had to be replied to. But it seems that since then, for about 24 hours now, there have been no violations. And if that is correct, and my information is that things are relatively peaceful and calm, then maybe we will continue in that direction and return to a no war, no peace, but no fighting, no shooting, no firing situation. And that's the best we can hope for in the short term.
Sir, as we are discussing about the announcement of ceasefire, opposition also raising how it is possible that US president can, announce such important information. Also, if we talk about how do you see this coming, and also the kind of word which was used by the US president for India, and, comparing India with Pakistan, and also after that ceasefire tweet, he also tweeted again about the trade with both the countries.
Look, frankly, I don't like any of it, and my view is that of an individual MP. I'm not a member of the government, so let me speak very frankly and freely. I think there were 4 problems with Mr. Trump's message, and particularly that second tweet. Number one, the false equivalence between India and Pakistan. You're making equivalent the victim and the perpetrator. which is really shocking. Second, it is completely wrong to imply that as a result of this, India is going to give some sort of negotiation to Pakistan. We will never negotiate at the point of a gun. And we are not going to give Pakistan the satisfaction of feeling that by unleashing a terrorist attack in Pahalgam, that they have somehow earned the right to negotiate with India. Not happening. I'm 100% convinced that if I know anything about Indian foreign policy, that will not happen. Number three, I don't think that Mr. Trump should in any way, shape or form have implied that the Kashmiri dispute has been internationalized by the American involvement. Number one, we don't even accept the fact anymore that there is a dispute of that nature. We say that Kashmir is an integral part of India. The only issues are within our country about how to integrate Kashmir fully and more effectively, and we're not interested at all in internationalizing the dispute. So the implication that the international community has a role to play in resolving this dispute flies in the face of the basic assumptions of Indian foreign policy, and I do not believe that we will do that. And finally, the fourth thing I didn't like about Mr. Trump's tweet is that it re-hyphenated India and Pakistan. For about 30 years now, we have successfully persuaded the world and persuaded every American president since Clinton not to club the two of us together. You want to visit India? Visit India. You want to visit Pakistan? Visit Pakistan. But don't come to India and go to Pakistan. Don't come to Pakistan, come to India. We don't want to see you. That kind of message has been widely understood. Even very recently, this January during Republic Day when the Indonesian president came, we gave the same message. He had planned to carry on from India to Pakistan. We said, please don't do that. You can go and make another visit at some other time. So he went from our country to Malaysia instead. And he went to Pakistan some other time later. That's the message. We don't want to be hyphenated with Pakistan. We are not Pakistan. We are not in any way, shape or form to be clubbed with Pakistan in anyone's imagination. So these four failures of President Trump's messaging suggest to me that he was not properly briefed.
Yeah. Also we talk about China deepening military tie with Pakistan. Do you think so? How does this alliance affect the security calculus for India, sir?
You see, China has been a strong supporter. They call themselves an all-weather friend of Pakistan for quite some time now. The single largest project in the Belt and Road Initiative of China is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which goes really from Western China all the way through POK and through Pakistani territory down to the port of Gwadar in Balochistan. So from the Chinese point of view, this is extremely important. Why? Because it means that goods coming from West Asia, from the Gulf countries, from the Suez Canal, can be offloaded in Gwadar and go by road up the highway straight into Western China, saving them a fortune. Currently, those same goods have to go all the way around India, go through the Straits of Malacca, go into the South China Sea, get offloaded in a port like Guangzhou in Southeast China, then go by road, overland all the way to Western China. That's a huge expense. They're saving 90% of the costs and possibly 95% of the time in doing it this way. So for them, this is very important, and Pakistan is very important for them. So they will undoubtedly do everything they can to protect Pakistan. Plus, it's also true that they have an adversarial relationship with us on our disputed border, and using Pakistan to keep us off balance, to needle us from time to time, to fight us from time to time, can be very useful to the Chinese. They have given Pakistan some of their most sophisticated fighter jets. There is the so-called J-10, which is a 4.5 generation aircraft, just like the Rafale is our 4.5 generation aircraft. They've given them some very sophisticated missiles called the PL-15. There is a lot of talk about all this. I'm not an expert on arms and munitions. All I can tell you is China is supplying Pakistan with equipment that will enable Pakistan to hold its own in a conflict with India. And we are familiar with this, and we have to be very conscious of how all these things work in operational terms in the event of a war.
Sir, it was in this tense situation, if we talk about the neighbours, the friendship with the neighbours, according to you, like which country was completely openly supporting India?
Amongst our neighbours, none openly supported India because our neighbours are also neighbours of Pakistan. I would say that there was some public sympathy for us in places like Sri Lanka and Nepal, but there was no governmental statement expressing sympathy. There was condemnation of the terrorist attack, yes, but in the conflict, I don't think I saw anything coming out of those countries officially. Bangladesh, as you know, has not been very friendly to us now in the change dispensation in the last year. Maldives, neither. Afghanistan did initially strongly express sympathy for India on the Pahalgam terror attack and condemned whoever perpetrated it, but subsequently it too has not said very much. And of course, China has been very supportive of Pakistan, including in the UN Security Council. So if you look at all our neighbors around us, I can't say that we got a great deal of satisfaction. The three countries that after May 7th publicly expressed some understanding for India's right to defend itself against terror, those three countries were Russia, France, and Israel. Nobody else. And that is something which I think is something we will probably have to bear in mind, but that doesn't mean the others are hostile to us. I certainly think there are many, many matters that are countries friendly to us who in other moments will come through when we need them. So I'm not going to write off anybody. I think we have a challenge in front of us to explain to countries what our point of view is. But I do believe that we will undertake that challenge with conviction in the weeks and months ahead.
Tharoor sir, what do you think? Like, has India gained diplomatically? What is your stand? Like the current situation, India was like, we were talking about the neighbours.
Look, it's a bit difficult for me to answer that question today. We have asked the Foreign Secretary for a briefing for the Standing Committee on External Affairs of Parliament next week, because we have to give a week's notice to our members. It has been scheduled for a week from today. And I'm looking forward very much to a constructive briefing in which all the questions of the parliamentarians, I'm sure, will be answered by the Foreign Secretary. Then only can I answer seriously your question as to what the diplomatic accomplishments of this have been. All I can say is I believe we have a very, very well-trained, well-qualified diplomatic service. And I have no doubt they're doing their very best. You may have seen the interviews on YouTube conducted by our ambassador in London, by our ambassador in Washington. I think they're doing their best. I'm sure other ambassadors and other postings have also done their job where required and where the national media so permits. But the fact is that in our country, we should not have unrealistic expectations that everybody is bound to see our point of view. You have to understand that Pakistan is also going around claiming that they were innocent, that they had nothing to do with Pahalgam, that India has needlessly and unprovoked attacked their country for something that's no fault of theirs. And there will be some sympathy for that. That's why some people, when I try and give some interviews to foreign channels, immediately want to know, where's your evidence, where's your evidence? I said, not all evidence is available. I mean, unfortunately, we have somebody who has conducted terror attacks multiple times in the last 30 years. We do have circumstantial evidence, and there undoubtedly would have been intelligence intercepts as well, which obviously no one is in a position to reveal publicly. But I'm just saying that the public perception battle is not an easy one to fight or win. We should not take anything for granted. We should not take the goodwill of the word for granted. We all tend to believe in our own virtue. But to persuade others of our virtue, it requires some effort.
Shashi sir, if we talk about as the official address was done, it was said that major destruction was done in Pakistan as well, and also the Air Force said openly that the Operation Sindoor is like it's still on. How do you see that?
No, I think all the Prime Minister meant by that statement that Operation Sindoor is still on is that the forces remain in a state of operational readiness, and if there is a provocation like another attack from Pakistan, we will give back as good as we get. That's all I think he meant. I don't think he meant that we will do any offensive operations. On the contrary, at no stage in this conflict was India initiating any offensive operation, because the message we were giving the world and to Pakistan is very clear. We got hit by terrorists, we're hitting the terrorist bases back. End of story. We don't want to do anything more. Okay, but then you, Pakistan, you hit us, we'll hit you back. That's what we were doing. So I don't think that this should be misread as a threat to anybody. It is an assurance that we are capable of defending ourselves in exactly the same robust manner if there is an attack on us.
Sir, how do you see that Foreign Secretary being targeted and trolled on social media?
Shameful. It is utterly shameful. The Foreign Secretary is a fine, upstanding, hard-working officer who served the country in numerous positions for many decades. I think he's done an excellent job throughout this crisis through his daily briefings. I think he deserves better from the people of India than to have him and his family, I believe even his daughter, being threatened and insulted. This is really sick people, lowlifes who have honestly nothing going for themselves. I think it's disgraceful, disgraceful. And I certainly would urge all concerned to give a robust response to these nasty people. I have issued, not only have I issued my own public statement in support of him, I've called him to convey my personal appreciation and support for him. I think this is absolutely disgraceful what some people have done.
And how do you see the opposition, and Congress has been, Congress President, leader of opposition, Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi has been, continuously demanding for this special session, that what has happened about Operation Sindoor, ceasefire, which was announced by the Washington DC, and the all-party meeting which should be chaired by the Prime Minister of India. How do you see this demand coming from the opposition?
Look, I mean, obviously the opposition has every right to make this demand. We're a parliamentary democracy, and I, as a member of the Congress party, cannot in any way dissociate myself from that request. On the question of the Prime Minister, I believe the Prime Minister is speaking to the nation at 8 p.m. today. We'll see what he has to say, and we can then perhaps have this have a more constructive conversation about it later. To my mind, the Prime Minister is the leader of the government, and he will want to speak to the nation and take it into confidence on what his thinking is, what has happened so far, and what may lie ahead. So we must wait to see what the Prime Minister has to say, and I certainly will be watching at 8 o'clock, whatever else might be on the anvil.